My sister tried to frame me for stealing her jewelry. She said, "It must have been you." So I replaced it all with cheap fakes and sold the originals back to her without her knowing. I never thought my own sister would accuse me of stealing. I never thought she'd go so far as to turn our family against me over a pile of jewelry. But that's exactly what Astrid did, and it was the kind of betrayal that changes you forever. I'll never forget the moment she looked me dead in the eyes and said, "It must have been you, Isadora. There's no one else it could be." Let me rewind a bit, set the stage for the chaos. Astrid and I grew up together in a little house in Madison, Wisconsin. She was older by 3 years, the golden girl, straight A student, star athlete, and, in everyone's eyes, flawless. Me? I was the artsy one, the one who spent hours tinkering with beads, paints, and canvases in our cramped attic room. By the time I was 12, I knew I wanted to make jewelry, and I threw myself into it, making every little bracelet or necklace with the dream that one day, it'd be my career. But things change, especially when your parents pass away. Mom and Dad left us both a small inheritance, not a fortune, but enough to buy something significant. Astrid took her share and traveled around Europe for 3 months, sending back photos of her in front of castles and cobblestone streets. I invested my part in my jewelry business, using it to buy quality materials and set up an online shop. It was my little dream coming true, and I thought Astrid was proud of me. She wore my pieces to work, even called me her talented little sister whenever her friends complimented her jewelry. I thought we were close. I thought she had my back. But then, one cold evening last November, everything went to hell. I was over at her apartment for our usual weekly dinner. We'd eaten takeout, sipped on wine, and talked about life, work, and family, the usual. We just moved to the couch with our glasses when Astrid froze, her eyes fixed on her bedroom door. "Oh my God, I forgot," she whispered, her voice filled with something I couldn't quite place. "Forgot what?" I asked, watching as she jumped up and hurried into her bedroom. A few minutes passed. Then I heard her gasp. When she came back out, her face was pale. She looked genuinely rattled. "My jewelry's missing." I felt a twinge of concern. "What do you mean, missing? All of it?" She nodded, clutching her arms across her chest like she was cold. "The diamond necklace Mom left me. The pearl earrings, the bracelet Derek got me for our anniversary, even my engagement ring. It's all gone, Izzy." I was stunned. "But, Astrid, are you sure? Maybe you put it somewhere else, or..." She cut me off, shaking her head furiously. "I always keep it in the same place, in my jewelry box, on my dresser. It's never moved. You were here alone earlier, right?" I blinked, the weight of her words settling over me. "Wait, you think I took it?" She gave me a long, hard look. "You were here. I left you alone when I went out to get groceries. There's no one else who could have." "Astrid." I nearly laughed, half in disbelief and half from the raw hurt that twisted inside me. "You really think I'd do that? Steal from you?" She crossed her arms tighter, her jaw set, but her eyes darted away from mine. "I don't want to believe it, Izzy, but what am I supposed to think? I don't even know where else to look." Her words sank in like stones. I'd always thought she trusted me, believed in me. I'd never been accused of something like this, let alone by someone I loved. "Astrid," I said slowly, trying to stay calm, "I swear, I would never steal from you. I don't need your jewelry, I make my own. I'm your sister." "Izzy, it's not about needing it," she snapped, her voice breaking. "People take things all the time, even from family. Sometimes it's, I don't know, envy, or..." "Envy?" I was almost shouting now, my voice shaking. "You think I envy you so much that I'd take what's yours? You really believe that?" She didn't answer, just stood there, staring at me with an expression that I couldn't read, a mixture of anger, fear, and something else. In that moment, it was like I was staring at a stranger. The sister I knew would never think this of me, would never be able to believe, even for a second, that I'd betray her. When she finally spoke, her voice was cold. "I don't know what to think anymore." My throat tightened. "Fine. If you're so sure it was me, why don't you go through my things? I'll let you check my purse, my pockets, whatever you want. Go ahead." She hesitated, and I could see a flash of doubt in her eyes, but it disappeared almost as quickly as it came. She looked away, her lips pressed into a thin line. "I think you should leave, Izzy. It's too much. I can't even look at you right now." The words hit me like a slap in the face. For a moment, I just stood there, stunned, staring at her as she turned away from me, arms crossed, her face a hard mask. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to make her understand that she was accusing me of something so vile, so far from anything I'd ever do. But instead, I grabbed my coat and left, slamming the door behind me. I thought it would end there, that she'd cool down, find the jewelry somewhere in her apartment, and realize she'd made a mistake. But the nightmare was just beginning. The next morning, I started getting texts. Our cousin Clara was the first, asking if it was true that I'd stolen Astrid's jewelry. Then came a call from our Aunt Ruth, her voice hushed and worried, asking if something had happened between me and Astrid. I could barely process the words. My sister had actually gone to our family, told them I was a thief, turned them against me. I called her, heart pounding as I waited for her to pick up. Finally, she answered, her voice flat. "Why would you tell the family that I stole from you?" I demanded, barely able to keep my voice steady. She sighed, like she was tired, like I was the one exhausting her. "They deserve to know, Izzy." I didn't want to believe it, but I don't have any other explanation. "And if you did take it? Well, maybe someone else in the family can talk some sense into you." My stomach dropped. "You're really going to ruin my reputation, our relationship, over this?" There was a long silence. "I need time, Izzy. Time to figure out what to do. I can't talk about this right now." And she hung up on me. Days turned into weeks. Astrid didn't call. Every time I tried reaching out, she ignored me. Family members stopped inviting me to gatherings, stopped replying to my texts. Even my own friends seemed distant, caught between loyalty to me and whatever Astrid had told them. I didn't know what to do. Every morning, I woke up feeling like I was in a nightmare I couldn't escape. I couldn't prove my innocence because I had no idea where her jewelry had gone. She wouldn't even let me look through her apartment to see if it had been misplaced. And the more I tried to explain myself, the more people seemed to believe her. Finally, after nearly a month of this torture, I decided enough was enough. If Astrid was so determined to destroy my life, to label me as a thief, maybe it was time I played by her rules. So I started planning. The plan was simple but took a lot of patience. I knew exactly what Astrid's jewelry looked like. After all, I'd seen it countless times growing up. I knew every detail of the diamond necklace from Mom, the bracelet from Derek, and those pearl earrings she wore every chance she got. And since I made jewelry for a living, it wasn't hard for me to find exact replicas of each piece, fakes, of course. I had them shipped in from different sources, and when I couldn't find exact matches, I crafted them myself. Each piece looked just like the real thing, but it was cheap, barely worth more than a couple of bucks. The hardest part was waiting for the right moment to set my plan into motion. A few weeks later, right before Thanksgiving, Astrid called me out of the blue. For a second, I actually thought she might be calling to apologize. But instead, she sounded tense, almost panicked. "Isadora," she started, her voice tight. "I heard from someone that there's a jeweler downtown who might have seen pieces like mine. They said they have. Replicas of my stolen jewelry." I almost laughed. She actually believed it. But I kept my voice steady. "Really?" I said, pretending to be surprised. "That's strange. I mean, they must be copies, right? I doubt anyone would sell the originals back around here." "Maybe," she said, sounding unsure. "But I thought you could come with me. You know, to take a look, just to clear the air." I agreed, keeping the excitement out of my voice. Finally, she was inviting me back into her life, and I was ready to play the part of the forgiving sister. A few days later, we met up at a local coffee shop. I brought the fake pieces with me in a discreet little box. I'd prepared a whole story, saying I'd come across these replicas online and thought they looked familiar. I told her I could introduce her to the seller to see if she wanted to buy them. I made sure she thought she'd discovered them herself, that she was the one in control. When I opened the box, Astrid's eyes widened as she looked over each piece, picking up the necklace, the bracelet, and the earrings. She looked at me, almost in shock. "Izzy, this is it," she whispered. "It's just like my mom's necklace. And my bracelet." Her voice trembled as she held the replica engagement ring. "These are perfect." I nodded, pretending to be amazed. "Yeah, they're really well done. It's almost as if they're real, right?" Astrid was too busy looking at each piece to hear the hint of sarcasm in my voice. She was already pulling out her wallet, asking me how much she'd need to buy them all. I told her I'd worked out a deal with the seller and offered her a generous price, still a fraction of the real value but high enough to sting a bit. Astrid barely hesitated, paying me on the spot, clutching her fake jewelry like it was a miracle. I watched her, feeling a dark satisfaction growing inside me. She had no idea she was buying back her own jewelry, and she'd never know. Over the next few months, Astrid showed off her new collection to our family, bragging about how she'd finally found perfect replicas of her stolen pieces. She'd wear them at every family event, sometimes even thanking me in front of others for helping her get back what she'd lost. The best part? She stopped accusing me. She let the whole theft thing go as if it never happened, as if she hadn't nearly ruined my life over it. She just went on, happily wearing her fake jewels, completely oblivious to the fact that she'd been played. It was the sweetest revenge I could have asked for, watching her bask in her own arrogance, never knowing the truth. One day, months later, she tried to get the necklace appraised for insurance. The jeweler had a tough time keeping a straight face as he told her it was practically worthless. That was the day Astrid called me in a fury, demanding answers. But I just laughed. "Oh, Astrid," I told her, barely holding back my laughter. "I guess things aren't always what they seem, are they?" I could hear the shock in her silence, and I didn't wait for a response. I hung up, letting her stew in her own mess. She'd never accuse me of anything again. In the end, I walked away with a clear conscience, and Astrid got exactly what she deserved.